The wind on 9 smelled like rust and old blood. Commander Lisa Vance crouched behind a broken stone wall and watched the alien patrol pass by. Her hand rested on the blade at her hip. It was old, older than she was, older than her mother had been. The handle was worn smooth from generations of hands holding it. She had never used it in battle. It was ceremonial, her mother had always said. But her mother was gone now, taken with everyone else aboard the Wandering Hope 15 years ago. Danny crawled up beside her, his rifle ready. He was a good soldier, steady and calm even when everything around them was falling apart. He had served with Lisa for 6 years, and he knew her better than anyone still alive. "Patrol is moving east," Danny whispered. "We have maybe 10 minutes before the next one." Lisa nodded. She signaled to the rest of the team, 4 soldiers who had volunteered for this mission knowing they might not come back. They moved forward through the ruins of what had once been a city. The buildings were empty shells now. The people who had built them were long dead, harvested like crops by the Collective of Silence. The Collective had been doing this for thousands of years. They moved from world to world, system to system, taking not just lives but something deeper. They took souls. They ripped the essence from living beings and trapped it in crystal matrices that powered their ships and weapons. The screams of the dead fueled their empire. Lisa had read the reports. She had studied the intelligence gathered by scouts and spies over decades of silent war, but nothing prepared her for what she saw when they reached the entrance to the underground facility. It was a hole in the ground, perfectly round, descending into darkness. Blue light pulsed from somewhere far below, and sounds rose up from that darkness. Sounds that might have been voices, might have been screams, might have been something in between. "That is not natural," one of the soldiers muttered. His name was Pete Carson, and his hands were shaking on his weapon. "Nothing about the Collective is natural," Lisa said. "Stay focused. We are here to gather intelligence, not engage." They descended into the hole using cables and harnesses. The walls were smooth, almost organic, covered in patterns that seemed to shift when Lisa was not looking directly at them. The blue light grew brighter as they went down. The sounds grew louder. After what felt like hours, they reached the bottom. Lisa stepped off the cable and felt her boots sink slightly into the floor. It was not stone or metal. It was something soft, something that pulsed with a faint warmth like living tissue. The chamber before them was vast. Crystals the size of buildings rose from the floor and hung from the ceiling. Each one glowed with inner light, and within that light, shapes moved. Faces pressed against the inside of the crystals. Mouths opened in silent screams. Hands reached out toward nothing. "My God," Danny breathed. Lisa could not speak. She walked forward as if pulled by invisible strings. Her eyes moved from crystal to crystal, face to face. There were thousands of them, maybe millions. Species she recognized and species she had never seen. All of them trapped, all of them suffering, all of them aware. And then she saw it. A smaller crystal, set apart from the others, glowing with a faint golden light instead of blue. She walked toward it and the faces inside became clear. She recognized Mrs., who had taught her to read when she was 5 years old. She recognized old Ben, who had fixed the ship's engines and always smelled like oil. She recognized the twins who had been her best friends, and their parents, and their grandmother who made the best noodles Lisa had ever tasted. She recognized her mother. Her mother's face pressed against the inside of the crystal, frozen in an expression of pure agony. Her mouth was open. Her eyes were wide. She had been like this for 15 years. Lisa's hand found her blade and gripped it so hard her knuckles turned white. "Commander," Danny said urgently, "we have company." The hollow ones came from the shadows. They were the Collective soldiers, beings whose own souls had been harvested long ago. What remained were shells, empty and obedient, moving with mechanical precision. Their eyes were dark holes. Their skin was gray and stretched tight over bone. "Fall back," Lisa ordered, but her voice came out as a whisper. The hollow ones attacked. The chamber filled with the sound of weapons fire and screaming. Pete went down first, a hollow one's blade through his chest. Then Maria Santos pulled into the darkness and gone. Lisa fought like she had never fought before, her rifle burning hot in her hands, but there were too many. Danny grabbed her arm. "We have to go now." They ran. They ran through tunnels that seemed to shift and change around them. They ran past more crystals, more faces, more silent screams. Behind them, the hollow ones followed with slow, steady steps that never tired. Lisa did not know how they made it out. One moment they were underground in that nightmare, the next they were stumbling through ancient ruins under an alien sky. Danny was bleeding from a wound in his side. Lisa's left arm hung useless, broken in the fight. Of the 6 soldiers who had gone down, only 2 came back up. They found shelter in a collapsed temple. Strange symbols covered the walls, carved by hands that had turned to dust centuries ago. Danny sat against a pillar and tried to stop his bleeding while Lisa stared at nothing. "We have to report this," Danny said. "Command needs to know what is down there." "My mother is down there," Lisa said. Her voice was flat empty. "She has been down there for 15 years, awake, aware, suffering." Danny did not know what to say to that. Lisa stood and walked to the nearest wall. The symbols there were different from the others. They seemed newer somehow, sharper. She traced them with her fingers and felt a faint warmth beneath the stone. "This was written as a warning," she said slowly, the meaning becoming clear in her mind like fog lifting. "And a promise. These people fought the collective. They lost, but before they died they left instructions." "Instructions for what?" Lisa turned to look at Danny. Her eyes held something dangerous now, something that had not been there before. "Instructions for burning it all down." She pulled her blade from its sheath. In the dim light of the temple, it seemed to glow faintly, as if recognizing where it was, as if remembering why it had been made. "This is not just a ceremonial blade," Lisa said. "It is a key, and I am going to use it to set 1,000 lost souls free." The temple walls told stories of death and defiance. Lisa spent hours reading them while Danny drifted in and out of sleep, his wound slowly healing with the help of their last medical supplies. The carvings showed a people called the tall and slender beings with 4 arms and eyes like stars. They had built cities that touched the clouds. They had sung songs that made flowers bloom. And then the collective had come. They had fought. They had fought with weapons and with words, with science and with something older. But in the end, they had fallen like everyone else. Their souls now glowed inside those terrible crystals, adding their screams to the chorus of the damned. But before the last of them died, they had hidden something. A ritual, a way to break the crystals and free what was trapped inside. The instructions were carved deep into the stone where the collective would never think to look. Lisa read them again and again, until the words burned in her mind. A blade touched by genuine grief, a heart willing to burn, blood freely given, and the will to carry 1,000 pains. She looked at her mother's blade and understood. Her family had been connected to this for generations, carrying the key without knowing what door it opened. Her mother had died still not knowing, but Lisa knew now. "Commander." The voice came from deeper in the temple. Lisa drew her blade and moved toward it, stepping carefully over fallen stones. In a small chamber at the back, she found the speaker. It was but barely. The being was ancient beyond imagining, its skin like paper stretched over sticks, its 4 arms withered and weak. It lay against the wall as if it had been there for centuries, which perhaps it had. "You came," it said. Its voice was dry leaves blowing across stone. "I waited so long, I began to think no one would ever come." "Who are you?" Lisa asked. "My name was Once. I was a keeper of sacred things. When my people fell, I hid myself here, in the space between heartbeats, waiting for the one who carried the key." Lisa showed her blade, this. His eyes, still bright despite everything, fixed on the weapon. "Yes, that blade was forged by my people in the first days of the war. We gave it to your kind when you first reached the stars, hoping that one day a human would be strong enough to use it. Your species is young, but there is fire in you that older races have lost." Danny appeared at the entrance to the chamber, his weapon raised. He saw and stopped, confusion on his face. "It is all right," Lisa told him. "This one is a friend." She turned back to, "Tell me about the ritual, tell me how to free them." The ancient being closed its eyes. "The collective cannot be defeated through war. Their ships can be destroyed, their soldiers can be killed, but as long as they hold the souls, they will rebuild. They will always rebuild. The power of 1,000,000 stolen lives makes them nearly immortal. Then we destroy the crystals." "It is not so simple. The souls are bound to the crystals through pain. Breaking the crystal does not free them. It only causes more suffering. To truly release them, someone must take that pain into themselves. Someone must become a vessel for all that grief, all that rage, all that loss." Lisa felt cold despite the warm air. "What happens to that person?" Opened its eyes. "They burn, body and soul they burn, and in that burning they set the others free. Silence filled the chamber. Danny looked at Lisa with growing horror. "No," he said, "absolutely not. I did not say I would do it." "You did not have to. I know that look, Commander. I have seen it before, every time you look at old pictures of the Wandering Hope." Lisa's communicator crackled. Admiral Grace Porter's voice came through, broken by static. "Commander Vance, respond. We are detecting massive collective fleet movement. You need to get to the extraction point now." "Admiral," Lisa said, "I have found something that could end this war." "We do not have time for discoveries right now. The collective is mobilizing everything they have in this sector. Something has them scared. Whatever you found, they want to make sure no one uses it." "Then I need more time." "You have 6 hours. After that we are gone and you are on your own." The communication ended. Danny grabbed Lisa's arm. 6 hours is enough time to get to the extraction point. We can bring this intelligence back to command. They can send a proper force, a proper plan. "And how many more will the collective harvest while we plan?" Lisa pulled away from him. "How many more souls will join my mother in those crystals? I have the key, Danny, right here in my hand. I cannot just walk away." "You are talking about dying." "I am talking about ending it, all of it. Not just my mother, but everyone they have ever taken. 1,000 species, Danny, 1,000 worlds, all of them screaming for release." Spoke again, its voice barely a whisper. "There is one more thing you must understand, human. The ritual does not save the souls. It releases them. They will not return to life. They will simply cease to suffer. The peace you offer is the peace of ending." Lisa closed her eyes. For 15 years she had dreamed of rescuing her mother, of bringing her home, of hugging her one more time. Now she understood that was never possible. The best she could offer was an end to pain. "I understand," she said. Danny stood in front of her, blocking her path. "Then I am coming with you." "No, you are going back to the extraction point. You are going to tell Admiral Porter everything we found here, and you are going to make sure the galaxy knows what the collective really is." "Commander." "That is an order, Corporal." They stared at each other for a long moment. Danny's eyes were wet. Lisa's were dry. She had no more tears left. Finally, Danny nodded. He reached out and gripped her shoulder. "It has been an honor, Lisa." "The honor was mine. Now go, and Danny, when you tell this story, make sure they know, not just about me, about all of them, about the 1,000 lost souls who deserved better." She watched him leave, disappearing into the dying light of the sun. Then she turned back to. "Tell me everything," she said. "I do not have much time." The ancient being smiled, and for just a moment it looked almost young. "Then let us begin." Lisa moved through the darkness like a ghost. The tunnels that led to the collective facility were filled with patrols, but she had learned the patterns now. She knew when to move and when to stay still. She knew which shadows were deep enough to hide in and which would betray her to watching eyes. Her broken arm had been set and wrapped tight against her body. It still hurt, but pain was just noise now. She had learned to tune it out, to focus only on what mattered. One step at a time, one breath at a time, one moment closer to the end. The blade at her hip seemed to grow warmer the deeper she went. Had explained that the weapon was connected to the crystals, forged from the same material in the days before the collective learned to corrupt it. The blade remembered what it was meant to do. It was eager to fulfill its purpose. Lisa reached the main chamber after hours of careful movement. She hid behind a column of black stone and watched the hollow ones go about their work. They moved the crystals with mechanical precision, loading smaller ones onto platforms that floated without visible support. The crystals hummed with trapped energy, with stolen life, with endless pain. She was about to move when she heard it. A voice, but not a voice. A whisper that came from inside her own mind. "You came." Lisa pressed herself against the stone, her hand on her blade. She looked around but saw no one except the distant hollow ones. "Do not be afraid, I cannot hurt you. I am barely anything at all." The voice led her eyes to a crack in the floor, a place where pale light seeped up from below. She crept toward it and looked down. In the space beneath the main chamber, between cables and pipes that pulsed with blue energy, she saw something that might once have been a person. It was made of light, but the light was broken, fragmented like a shattered mirror. Faces flickered within it, dozens of them, all different, all wearing the same expression of exhausted peace. "What are you?" Lisa breathed. We are what remains when the harvesting fails. We are the pieces they could not use, the fragments too small to power their machines. They threw us away like garbage and we fell here into the cracks, and we merged into something new. We call ourselves Echo now because that is all we are. Echoes of people who used to matter. Lisa felt something twist in her chest. I am sorry. Do not be sorry, be quick. We have waited so long for someone to finish this. We have watched others try and fail. We have seen heroes become hollow ones, their souls ripped out and added to the collection. But you are different. You carry the key. Can you help me reach the central matrix? Echo's light pulsed. We can show you the path, but you must hurry. The voice knows you are here. The voice. As if in answer, a new sound filled the chamber. It was many voices speaking at once, thousands of them layered on top of each other, creating words from a chorus of the damned. Little human, little burning thing, we feel you creeping through our home. We taste your grief on the air. It is delicious. The voice of silence. Lisa had heard recordings, had read transcripts, but nothing compared to hearing it in person. It was the sound of everything she had ever lost speaking to her at once. We know why you came. We know what you carry. Do you think you are the first? Others have tried before. Others have burned before ever reaching the heart. Lisa did not answer. She moved, following Echo's whispered directions through maintenance tunnels and forgotten passages. The voice followed her, speaking from everywhere and nowhere. Your mother is here, little human. Would you like to hear her voice? Lisa stopped. Her whole body went rigid. Lisa, the voice had changed, become singular, become familiar. It was her mother's voice, perfect in every way. Lisa, my baby girl, why did you wait so long? It hurts so much here. Every moment is fire. Every second is needles in my soul. Why did you not come sooner? That is not her, Lisa whispered, but her hands were shaking. That is not her. Isn't it? We took her voice when we took her soul. We took all of her memories, all of her love, all of her pain. We know things about you that only she would know. We know about the night you cried because you thought stars were dying. We know about the song she sang to make you sleep. We know everything, Lisa. We are everything now. Echo's light flickered urgently. Do not listen, that is how they break you. They use what you love against you. Move, human, move now. Lisa forced herself forward. Each step was agony. Her mother's voice continued to speak, to plead, to accuse. It told her she was a coward for waiting so long. It told her she was selfish for surviving when others died. It told her she was too weak to finish what she started. But beneath the pain, something else grew. Rage. Not the hot rage of battle, but something colder, deeper. The rage of someone who has seen the worst evil has to offer and decided to end it anyway. You use her voice, Lisa said as she moved, because you are afraid. You took 1,000 species and made them into batteries. You harvested 1,000,000 worlds and turned them into screams. And now you are scared of one human with an old blade. The voice laughed with 1,000 throats. Scared? We are not scared. We are hungry. And when you fail, when you fall, we will add your voice to ours. We will wear your grief like a crown. We will speak to the next fool who comes using your words. Lisa reached a door made of the same organic material as the walls. Beyond it, she could feel the pulse of the central matrix, the heart of all this horror. She drew her blade. It glowed now, bright and warm, as if a fire burned within the metal. You are right about one thing, she said. You will have my grief, all of it, but not the way you think. She pushed open the door and stepped into the heart of darkness. The central chamber was beautiful in the worst possible way. Crystals rose like a forest, and at its center stood the largest of all, a spire of trapped souls that reached toward a ceiling lost in shadow. Millions of faces pressed against its surface. Millions of mouths opened in silent screams, and all of them turned to look at Lisa as she entered. Echo's voice came one last time, gentle now. We will be with you, all of us. You will not burn alone. Lisa raised her blade and walked toward the end of everything. The ground shook as explosions lit up the sky above. Captain Noah Grant's voice came through the emergency channel, broken and desperate. All ships maintain formation. We are buying time, nothing more. Hold the line until Commander Vance completes her mission. Lisa heard this through her communicator as she stood before the central matrix. Above ground, beyond the sky, the human fleet had arrived. They were outnumbered, but they had come anyway. They had come because Danny had reached them. They had come because they believed. She did not have time to feel grateful. The voice of silence was manifesting before her. It was a nightmare given form. The creature that stepped from the shadows was made of flesh and crystal merged into one horrible whole. It stood 3 meters tall, its body covered in small crystals that glowed with trapped souls. Its face was a blur of features, constantly shifting between the people it had consumed. For one terrible moment, it wore her mother's face. "You should not have come here, little human," the voice said. "This is sacred ground. This is where we feed." "This is where you die," Lisa said. The voice laughed and the sound was agony. "We cannot die. We are made of death. Every soul we take makes us stronger. Every scream adds to our power. You cannot kill what is already dead 1,000,000 times over." Lisa held her blade ready. The metal burned bright now, so bright it hurt to look at. The souls in the surrounding crystals seemed to lean toward it, drawn to its light like cold hands reaching for fire. "Maybe I cannot kill you," Lisa said, "but I can take away everything that makes you powerful." She charged. The voice moved faster than anything that size should move. It swatted her aside like an insect, and she crashed against a crystal pillar, her broken arm screaming with fresh pain. She tasted blood but forced herself up. "Pathetic," the voice said. "Your species is barely out of the trees. You sailed between stars for what, a few centuries? We have harvested civilizations older than your sun. What made you think you could challenge us?" Lisa spat blood and smiled. "Because you are afraid. If you were not afraid, you would have killed me already instead of talking." The voice's shifting face twisted into something ugly. It came at her again, claws extended, crystals blazing. Lisa dodged the first strike and ducked under the second. She was faster than it expected, driven by something beyond training or instinct. She was driven by 15 years of nightmares. She was driven by her mother's face pressed against crystal. Her blade found flesh. The voice screamed as the weapon cut deep into its arm. Where the blade touched, the crystals cracked and the tiny souls trapped within burst free like sparks from a fire. They rose toward the ceiling, flickering with brief joy before fading into nothing. "How?" the voice demanded, stumbling back. "That should not be possible." "This blade was made to destroy you," Lisa said. "My people have been carrying it for generations, waiting for someone stupid enough or brave enough to use it. Turns out I am both." She pressed her attack. The voice fought back with savage fury, its claws tearing at her armor, opening wounds across her body. But every time her blade struck, more crystals shattered, more souls escaped. The voice was losing pieces of itself with each exchange. Above, the battle was going badly. Captain Grant's voice crackled through her communicator again. "We've lost the brave wind and the northern light. The steady dawn is taking heavy fire. Commander, whatever you're doing, please hurry." "Almost there," Lisa gasped. The voice grabbed her by the throat and lifted her off the ground. Its face settled into a single expression now, something ancient and hateful. "Enough games. We will take you apart slowly. We will harvest your soul while your body still breathes. We will make you watch your own consumption." Lisa's vision was going dark at the edges. Her blade hung loose in her weakening grip. This was it. This was how she died. Then she heard them. It started as a whisper, then grew to a murmur, then became a roar. The souls in the crystals were speaking, all of them at once, not through the voice but despite it. They were speaking with their own words, their own voices, a chorus that had been silent for centuries finally finding its strength. "Release US." The central matrix pulsed. The voice's grip loosened as it turned to stare at the spire of trapped souls. Cracks were forming in the crystal, spreading like lightning across its surface. "No," the voice said. "No, this is not possible. You are ours. Your pain is ours. You cannot." "Release US." Lisa felt strength flood back into her body. It was not her own strength. It was borrowed, gifted, 1,000 hands lifting her when she could not lift herself. She raised her blade and drove it into the voice's chest. The creature screamed with all its stolen voices at once. Its body cracked like the crystals it was made of. Light poured from the wounds, not the cold blue of harvested souls, but something warmer, something golden. "You cannot," the voice gasped. "We are eternal, we are." "You are finished," Lisa said. She twisted the blade and the voice shattered. The fragments of its body fell to the ground and crumbled into dust. The crystals that had covered it burst open, releasing tiny lights that spiraled upward and vanished. Lisa turned to the central matrix. It was cracking now, the souls within pressing against their prison with desperate hope. But the cracks were not spreading fast enough. The ritual was not complete. She understood what she had to do. She walked toward the spire on legs that barely held her. Her blade dragged against the ground, leaving a trail of fire in its wake. The souls in the crystals watched her approach, millions of eyes fixed on this single broken human. Captain Grant's voice came one last time. "Commander, the steady dawn is crippled. We cannot hold any longer. I am sorry. I am so sorry." "Do not be sorry," Lisa whispered. "Just watch the sky, and when it lights up, tell them what happened here. Tell them it was worth it." She reached the base of the central matrix. She could feel the souls inside, their pain and hope and exhaustion. She could feel her mother among them, no longer a voice of accusation but something softer now, something proud. The sun of 9 was setting. Through the cracks in the ceiling, Lisa could see the sky turning gold and red and purple. "At dusk," she said, raising her blade, just like the inscription said. She plunged the blade into the heart of the matrix. And everything became fire. The pain was everything and nothing at once. Lisa felt herself dissolving, her body becoming a vessel for something far greater than one human life. The souls poured into her, through her, their suffering becoming hers, their memories flooding her mind like an ocean breaking through a dam. She saw 1,000 worlds. She felt 1,000,000 goodbyes. She experienced the last moments of species whose names had been forgotten before humanity learned to walk upright. Mothers holding children as the darkness came. Warriors standing defiant against impossible odds. Poets composing final verses with their last breaths. Lovers reaching for each other as everything ended. All of it flowed through Lisa, all of it burned. Her body lifted off the ground, suspended by forces beyond physics. Light poured from her eyes, her mouth, from the wounds the voice had left in her flesh. The blade in her hand blazed like a star being born. And still the souls came, an endless river of the lost and the damned finally finding their way home. In the chaos of that moment, Lisa found her mother. It was not words that passed between them. It was something older, something that existed before language was invented. Love, gratitude, pride, forgiveness. Her mother's presence wrapped around her like an embrace, warm and gentle despite the fire consuming them both. "Thank you," her mother's soul whispered. "Thank you for coming. Thank you for not forgetting. Thank you for being strong enough to let us go." "I love you, Mom." "I love you too, baby girl. I have loved you every moment of these 15 years. Even through the pain, even through the darkness, I loved you. And now it is time to rest." Her mother's soul released its hold on existence. Lisa felt it rise, felt it dissolve into peace, felt it finally become free. And then she felt 1,000 more follow, 1,000,000 more, an endless procession of the liberated dead ascending toward whatever came next. Across the galaxy, the collective's power began to fail. Their ships, fueled by harvested souls, went dark one by one. The great warships that had terrorized 1,000 species drifted silent and cold through the void. The hollow ones, animated by stolen life force, collapsed where they stood, their empty bodies finally allowed to rest. On 100 occupied worlds, the crystal prison shattered. The harvesting facilities crumbled. The screams that had echoed through alien corridors for centuries finally fell silent. And in orbit above 9, Captain Noah Grant watched the collective fleet go dark. His ship was burning, half his crew was dead, but they had survived. They had held the line long enough. "Captain," his communications officer said, her voice thick with tears, "I am reading energy signatures from the planet. It is like nothing I have ever seen. The whole thing is lighting up." Grant looked at the. Below them, 9 was glowing. Golden light spread from a single point, racing across the surface like dawn arriving from the wrong direction. It rose into the sky in a column of fire that seemed to reach for the stars themselves. "What is that?" someone asked. Grant thought of Commander Vance, of her steady voice and her old blade, of the determination in her eyes when she had refused to leave. "That," he said quietly, "is what victory looks like." The column of light expanded, filling the sky, filling the void between stars. For one eternal moment, the entire sector was illuminated by the souls of the freed dead. Every ship, every station, every watching eye saw them rise. 1,000 species, 1,000,000 lives, all finally escaping the prison that had held them for so long. And at the center of it all, Lisa burned. She felt herself coming apart, her body unable to contain so much energy, so much emotion, so much history. But she did not feel pain anymore. She felt peace. She felt purpose. She had spent her whole life wondering what she was meant for, and now she knew. This moment, this fire, this liberation. The last soul passed through her. It was a child, one of the twins from the Wandering Hope, the boy who had taught her to play cards and always cheated. He smiled at her as he rose, a smile without pain, without fear, with nothing but gratitude. "See you on the other side," he said. And then Lisa was alone. Her body hung in the air for one final moment, a shell of ash and light. Her blade, still blazing, still beautiful, floated beside her. And then, gently, quietly, she let go. Commander Lisa Vance died as the sun set on 9. But she did not die alone. 3 years later, Commander Danny stood before the memorial. It had taken that long to build, to gather the materials and the workers and the political will. But now it stood on the surface of 9, in the spot where the underground facility had once been. The tunnels were collapsed now, filled in with stone and silence. The crystals were gone. The souls were free. The memorial was a statue of Lisa, carved from white stone that seemed to glow from within. She stood with her blade raised, her face calm and determined, her eyes fixed on the horizon. Around the base of the statue, small lights floated, 1,000 tiny flames that never went out, each one representing a soul she had freed. Danny walked up to the inscription and read it again, though he had helped write it, though he knew every word by heart. Commander Lisa Vance of the Terran fleet. She carried their pain so they could finally rest. At dusk, her blade ignited the fire of 1,000 lost souls. She burned so others could be free. He placed his hand on the cold stone and closed his eyes. "I kept my promise, Lisa. I told them. I told everyone. Your name is in every history book. Your story is taught in every school. The collective is gone, really gone, and you ended them. You and that old blade of yours." The sun was setting. Danny watched the light change, watched the shadows lengthen across the memorial grounds. Visitors moved around him, humans and aliens alike, all come to pay respects to the woman who had saved more lives than anyone could count. And then, just for a moment, the statue's blade caught the dying light. It seemed to burn. Danny smiled through his tears. He saluted, crisp and formal, the way Lisa had taught him all those years ago. "Rest easy, Commander," he said. "You earned it." He turned and walked away as the sun disappeared below the horizon. Behind him, the memorial stood silent and eternal, a human woman frozen in stone, her blade raised against the darkness. And in the growing night, 1,000 small lights flickered like souls remembering how to be free.